Good evening. This is a call to order for the Policy, Personnel, and Contracts Committee meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. The time now is 5:30 p.m. In attendance to have committee chair myself, Christine Baptiste Perez, and committee member Andre Woodson. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes from February 12th, 2024. Is there a motion? I'll second it. Are there any changes? Hearing no changes. All in favor of the minutes from February 12th, 2024, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it unanimously. The minutes from February 12th, 2024 passes. The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible referral to the full board for approval of book purchases for Bookalicious for Bridgeport Public Schools Federal Library Refresh Grant. So we have you people in the room today to present? Yes.
So my name is Lisa Valle, and I am the librarian at Park City Magnet School. I'm also the senior SysOp there at that school, and I am one of the lead librarians on this library refresh team for the district.
Teresa Welch. I'm a former school librarian. I was at Beardsley School for a decade, and then I joined ITS. I'm part of the academic support team, but I serve as a liaison to the librarians helping with technology.
So just to share with you just a basic overview of the program, the district library refresh is intended to provide anchor content for all elementary schools and our 7 high schools in Bridgeport. The idea is that regardless of where our students are in regards to their zip code, if they have that favorite book at this school library, if by chance in a year or two they move to a different zip code, that library most likely has that same favorite series or just as equally materials available. Thinking also in regards to culturally responsive and giving the students an opportunity to choose titles that they like, right? So if you're into something and you see it in your library, you're going to go and read it and check that book out or that item out more and more. And another key thing, which is huge in pushing this, is that it has been over 20 years since our school libraries have received any funding and any materials. So that is like huge in regards to why we really need to have everyone's support in having this library refresh. I mentioned the anchor content across the district and reaching readers, ensuring that they have student voice and student choice. And I also want to be sure in regards to the anchor content and student choice that our team also took into consideration like our demographics, taking into consideration our huge migrant population, all the different languages that are spoken in our communities, also taking into consideration our special education department, our students. So we've ensured to make sure that we have, for example, like the board books, the chubby books, we call them, because they'll more durable, they'll be able to handle the extra love that some of our special needs students will give them, right? So to ensure that we have that, to make sure that we have books with for our visually impaired students with the high contrast. We have certain buildings that don't have a traditional library. So we looked at that as well and going in and seeing, okay, so we don't have a traditional library here. What classrooms do you have? What grade bands are covered in each individual class? And so what does that classroom library need so that those students have what they need, what they're interested in as well?
To tie in a little bit with what Lizette was mentioning, this is just an infographic that was in the material provided to the board in terms of what school libraries need for Bridgeport district. And the biggest takeaway I think from the board is that you're going to see an increase in reading scores is what the research has shown us. Some of the key points we talk about, you're going to see those increased scores to see a certified librarian on staff. As Ms. Valle mentioned, currently we do not have a certified librarian in every building. We're looking to improve on that, get certified in those spaces. I was very proud to come on about a lot longer than I thought. Just now I did that math. I'm not going to say that out loud. But to come on as a librarian, Ms. Bella, in fact, was one of my first administrators when I came to Beardsley School. And having that certified librarian staff really makes a big difference. as opposed to a long-term sub, or even just having somebody 5 days. There are some buildings that don't have a librarian there for the full week that the students are in session. And that's something we can look to improve upon. Increased reading scores due to the size and a newer age of the collection. One of the reports that we've been able to pull is the average age of the collection in school. I'm embarrassed to say that one of the libraries that I was in had a book that said, "When we land on the moon." A conspiracy theorist or not, that was a little mortifying to see. But then again, you also see things like books on Pluto as a planet as opposed to an exoplanet. There's constant changes, so we really want to see kind of an increase in the average age of that collection, especially as it relates to nonfiction. They're able to collaborate with staff, which is really great, and I think we saw this as a result of COVID. The go-to person in a lot of those buildings, in fact, the academic support team is entirely built of librarians because we were the front lines using technology with our students. So being able to help those teachers collaborate on those technology lesson plans is a really key role that the librarian plays. And then just talking about information literacy skills and the instruction in that, the idea of media bias and fact checking. I mean, I don't have to tell you how important that is in the current day and age that we live in. So that infographic goes into a little bit more detail, and the sources are at the bottom if you would like to reference that, because I am a librarian, I'm going to cite my sources. But that is available for you in your packets today.
And so our current engagement, we're here in regards to Bookalicious, right? And so one of the things with Bookalicious is that we chose them and we connected with them and talked to them about our project and what we needed to do. And their big thing was enabling us to provide that student choice. And one of the things that they have provided for us was to do a student survey to gauge, like, what do the students like to read? How do they feel when they have books to read? And that was just a matter of, like, to check the value of what Bookalicious will be able to provide for us. Another piece of it, too, is that, you know, in the libraries, it's not just put a book on the shelf and let somebody just take the book out, right? So we have a library management system that we use. And one of the things that Bookalicious is able to provide is shelf-ready processing, which means that those MARC records, like librarian lingo here, MARC records are prepared so that they're uploaded into our management system, and a student can say, I'm looking for a book on how to take care of my dog, or I'm looking for whatever it might be. They go into our management system, Koha, and can find that book. So part of the service that Bookalicious provides is that literally when the books arrive to each individual school, the librarian has to just pick up the book and put it on the Dewey's Decimal section of the library, because we don't have a technical services team. So any cataloging that needs to be done, these many books for us to do is insane. We won't be able to do that. So this is one of the huge pluses, additional pluses that Bookalicious is able to provide for us, is a full processing and shelf ready for all of the books that we are to receive. And on their team, on Bookalicious team, they have librarians, they have educators on their staff that are curating these lists. And so we'll be able to look at the list that they provide and say, okay, these are okay for us to have in regards to, you know, we have these books for our chubby books that we're going to need. Well, we're going to need 3 copies of those, but 2 copies of this. So they're able to provide what we need for our students and to prepare our library so that they're well stocked, and the students will be able to have what they need.
So taking the results of the survey that we offered students, the survey that Bookalicious provided to us was offered to students twice, and these represent the most recent results. This was done in November of 2023. And what they found, and again, this material is available to you and the material sent to the board, is that when students all the way K through 6 get to choose the book that they read, they feel great about it. In fact, they call it a jazzy survey. And there's kind of little emotions that go with it. And kids really are excited to read when they get to choose something to read instead of being told what to read by their reading teacher or their English teacher. There's also something that we saw that was kind of a little sad for me, being a parent of a 6th grader especially, because it says in K to 3 versus the 4th through 6th graders, by 4th grade, we're seeing a huge decline. I believe the number was, it went from 60% of K through 3 felt good about themselves as a reader when they were choosing books. And that number went down to 36% for 4th through 6th. So to see that happen at such a young age, you know, as a librarian, as a book lover, that's hard to see. I mean, it breaks your heart. And we really are hoping that by building that reading motivation, that is going to increase literacy, that's going to lead to personalized selection, all this kind of cyclical movement as it relates to these new books coming into our libraries. So again, fourth grade is where we're seeing that stop. There's a lot of research out there showing that, those are such critical years for students as readers. We want to make sure that they love reading, we're promoting it, and we're helping them be successful as readers for their entire lives.
So basically here, we're just, as our wrap up is like, the intention is to help us build our libraries so that the students have what they need, staff has, they're working on a unit and they need a book. Our libraries have it. They're not going to have to like run around wherever to try to figure it out. We're going to have that there. Increasing student voice and choice, which is super important. And then creating lifelong readers, keeping the students engaged. It's, if they find something that they like to read, most times it gives us that opportunity to say, oh, how about this? Did you check this out? Did you look at this author? So it gives us that and helps us so that we connect with our students and to keep them engaged and motivated to read.
We want to take your time, and then we also want to leave time if you had any questions for us as it related to book questions.
You have a question? Oh, I'll acknowledge the other board members after your question.
These books, kinds of books include all kids, there's a big thing going on for books in schools.
So the books really represent a diverse population. What's really nice is there's some literature and books provided to the board about Bookalicious as a company. And what they aim to do is it relates to showing really books as really one of the phrases we use all the time is that books are windows to readers, right? Books should reflect who you are as a person, each and every one of us in this room, and books should be a window to the world for us to see the world beyond. My first teaching job was in Bridgeport, and I say it needs to show my students a world beyond Hollister Avenue. And that's what we try to do. And Bookalicious really prides himself on showing a diverse characters and situations in their books. Keeping in mind, if parents approach you, we have things that we can do as well.
Just so I can further that, one of the things that I make sure that I ask this Bookalicious and really any company that I engage with in regards to what books do you have, I want for my students to see them. I want them to see me in their books. I want to hear that story from that authentic voice, right? One of the things that we're talking about currently is for the high school with nonfiction, elementary as well, but mostly not the high school right now. Nonfiction is the Native American history. And we're looking for one of the things that's like, I want to make sure that these are authentic stories told in the voice of the Native people. And so that's the same with the young kids. We have our Asian population, our Black students, Latino students, our students who are blended families, both different races, ethnicities. So that is like one of the things that across the district, I have made it my priority, and our whole team, all the librarians are in on, let's make sure that when our kids come into the library and they're pulling a book, that they see themselves or they see their Dia on the cover. You know what I'm saying? So there's that connection there. We're making sure that our books are ethnically, culturally diverse.
Okay. Quickly, I want to just recognize board members that are present and also online who are not part of this committee, as well as Ms. Casimir, Mr. Sokolovic, Mr. Medina, Mr. Traber, and then Ms. Perez just joined. For policy, I will only allow committee members to participate in this conversation. Should it move forward to the full board, and board members may have the opportunity to inquire further. I have a question. I saw in the packet, it says, as we fine tune our strategy and continue our science of reading implementation, is this in any way related to the Science of Reading, the Right to Read Act, with what's being required with Connecticut law?
Sure.
So it's not related to science of reading, I would say. the right to read law is something through Connecticut, but also recognized something through the American Library Association and the American Association of School Libraries. So the Bill of Rights to Read, the students' Bill of Rights to Read and things of that nature. It's not related to that. This is just, they'd be the ones providing the books. So it's not necessarily related to that, though.
So it does. And then I wasn't able to find it, but I just wanted to know how this is different from other literacy program that was introduced to the full board last year. In terms of like this contract, how is this different from any of the most recent contracts we've entered into for books?
So this isn't curriculum based. This is purely library based and book purchasing. So these are books for the library as opposed to the reading textbooks or reading material that are used in the classroom.
Okay.
And if do you remember seeing like the Pebble Go and the?
Very.
Okay.
So that, yeah, so that
And
is,
that's, yeah.
right, so those are additional research resources that are available district-wide to our students. So that is our digital content and our digital supports for research and literacy and to support across the district that we do with our curriculum. So that's,
These are pretty books.
and our students are able to access that through a single sign-in through ClassLink. And we use them in the library. We also use those resources, digital resources, to support when we're doing research and teaching students those strategies. So that's the digital component of it. This is the print component.
Gotcha. Okay. Uh, Looking at the invoice and I see the amount, the price per school, is there, because I know, it's going to be different for elementary versus secondary. Is there any type of alignment with the number of titles that each campus will receive? Or is it based on that survey piece that you discussed, the number of titles and types of titles that they will receive? I wasn't able to understand that from the packet.
Right. So what was done is like essentially we got a dollar amount per building, and so everyone will get that same dollar amount. For example, we're doing one that's like I think it was like $12,000, and there were like 200 and something books that would be purchased with that dollar amount kind of thing. But we don't have like that number of books yet. But essentially we had, is it $10,000 per building?
It's 10,000 per building, but I wanted to know if you knew the number of books, titles that would be available per
No,
building for
not
that
at
$10,000.
No.
I would like to be able to know that.
Mhm.
Because I have walked several campuses where the libraries are completely empty. There's
Right.
no librarian.
Right.
So I want to know what our students are going to be able to enjoy as a result of this refresh. Are they going to have 200 books, 300 books? Are the books going to be available in print and also digital?
Right. So in regards to books in print, we have Pebble Go that provides, digital books, ebooks.
Yes.
So we have Pebble Go that has ebooks in there. There are over 2,000 books that we own in perpetuity forever, right?
So Pebble Go has that.
Pebble Go do have access to ebooks, yes. And then these books will be books in print going forward, anything else that's purchased. Right now, we're focusing on the nonfiction. The fiction is Bookalicious, and our next wave coming in is the nonfiction. But specifically for this fiction piece of it, it's 10,000 per building. And then because we have the library asset management system, we're going to be able to track whether that building has a librarian or not. Maybe they'll have like a person that comes in a couple hours a day, or there's a classroom teacher that's assigned. However they decide to do it, but we'll be able to track where these materials are, who's checking in and out in regards to that piece of it. Track meaning not that we're actually like censoring and looking at what people are doing, but if we're doing an inventory to say, all right, we purchased and put on these shelves 3,000 books. Let's do an inventory. Where are we with losses? Where are we with what was returned?
Yeah, because I'm looking at the amount of 10,000, it seems like a lot, but it's really not a lot of money. And so since we have elementaries that are K-8,
Right.
Really and truly, when you look at the diverse span of kindergarten students and their reading needs versus 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students and their reading needs, $10,000 would be something that I would allocate only for 6th, 7th, and 8th
Right.
to purchase books. And so in addition to this refresh grant, Is there any additional funding that will be coming from this refresh grant in particular? Is this the limit?
It's 2 million.
The school is going to be 2 million, but that's going to also include once we get to the high schools.
Right.
So we haven't even really addressed the high schools, especially as it relates to fiction. Right now, since I mentioned talking about actually the high school level.
Got it.
So again, this phase of Bookalicious, this is print materials for our K, pre-K.
So fiction print materials for K-8. Thank you.
As Ms. Weiss, it was also, this is the first time in 20 years we've done it. So I started as a librarian in the city in 2010, and it's always been piecemeal, or I know every librarian applied for the Pequot book sale in Fairfield. They usually generously give recipients $100, and usually a little family reunion down there every summer, because we're all going and trying to get as many books as we can for our students. A lot of times it's been donation based at this point in time. Libraries will donate to different schools, different just kind of actors will come by and say, hey, here's my books.
I'm curious because I know the divergence that we have in enrollment across our district. We have schools with 1,200 kids and we have schools with 180 students. And so it doesn't seem fair that the building with 180 gets the same $10,000 than a district with 1,200 students. And so I'm just wondering about how that's going to be distributed. And I want to see more information about that.
We definitely get those number of titles per building for you. Maybe look at things should be reallocated.
Mr. Woodson? Any questions? I'm sorry, Dr. Jenkins?
Just wanted to say that this report for students. Primary reason for the smaller amount is that last year when we purchased Brain Pop and Below, those were primarily digital programs for K-8. So it was a small launch until we identify what purchases need to be made for high school. This high school has not had a purchase yet. So this was a small launch to cover grades K through 4.
So I know it's because of the knocking, so I just want to make sure. Sorry for everyone at home. Building's getting, it's older than most. The library refresh grant, this order is for K4?
Yes.
Okay. And then for the Brain Pop and Polo, that was an order and that was already approved by the board, and that's K-8 digital print.
Digital, digital.
I mean, digital.
Yeah, digital.
Yeah, that's what
resources. Yeah.
Digital. So that was also part of this library refresh grant, or is this a new grant we received $2 million for and we're trying to?
The $2 million library refresh grant is from the federal government.
Okay,
Last year's purchase was made out of TESSER dollars.
that, yeah, okay, I recall that. And just so I can recall, we're going to look at this from an equity lens in terms of, you want to know, Dr. Levy David, the per student per building is absolutely okay. I want to make sure that if you have a campus with 1,200 kids, that 1,200 students that are K4 have access to books and print. And our next meeting is on the 26th. Is it possible to get that information available? Yeah.
Yeah. Not a problem.
Make sure, I don't want to refer it if it's.
No, believe me, we've been working on this and it's like, we want to make sure, because it's like, for example, at Park City Magnet, I applied for, was awarded the Laura Bush Foundation grant 2 years ago. So like, my library at Park City Magnet has newer titles. And every chance that I get, I'm like hustling to see what else can I get for my students to get on these shelves. But we have other schools that have like she mentions, they're so old. So it's like, we want to make sure that we're on point with what we do. So it's like, if that's the information that you can say by this date, we're gonna make it.
And then we have committee member Tahiba Bain online, and I believe Mr. Whittingham was online as well. But I know no longer him.
Sorry, I'm late. Madam
It's
Chair.
no problem. We're just discussing, just going through a few questions about the agenda item 2 for Bokalicious. I don't have any more questions. Ms. Bain, were you able to get enough content do you have any questions? Okay. Oh, there are no further questions. Discuss what we're going to expect in the next board meeting. I'm okay moving forward to to make a referral to the full board for the possible approval of a book purchase from Bokalicious for Bridgeport Public Schools using the Federal Library Refresh Grant. Is there a second? Okay. Any further debate or discussion? Ms. Payne? Mr. Woodson? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions?
Aye.
You're abstaining or you're voting in favor?
I'm voting in favor.
Okay. So the ayes have it, the motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? It's been moved by Mr. Woodson. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The ayes passes unanimously. The time now is 6:02 p.m. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.